You're listening to a programme from BBC Radio 4.
Hello listeners, as you can hear I'm outside a very tall building, 36 floors high, the Euston Tower in London. The reason I'm here is that I've been put in charge of security at this building tonight. I am going to be the night watchman.
Hello.
Hello.
You just go through the doors straight down to the double doors and take a left.
Left, alright, thank you very much.
To the high rise lift.
Right. Thank you. 23 persons maximum should be okay, and 33rd floor is where we're heading for. Good evening, my name is Jarvis Cocker and I'm here to guide you through another night here on planet Earth. 26, it's then 28, 29, well, my ears have gone a little bit. Have yours? You okay? This week on Wireless Nights, we're going to meet some other people who have to keep a watchful eye on things whilst the rest of the world is asleep. And here we are. I need to put the clothes on for the job, obviously, and then start to feel more the part. Yeah, I've got my torch. Quite a heavy, good quality torch. Could be used in self-defence. Should it be necessary. Obviously, I'm hoping that's not going to be the case. And let's start our first round. So I think the basic thing is just check doors and make sure there's nothing untoward going on. Right, so I've been told to check up on this room here, so let's put the lock here.
Where are you going, little brown mouse? Come and have tea in my treetop house.
It's ages since anyone's read me a bedtime story. You forget how nice it is, don't you? Carry on, Andrea.
It's nice of you, Alan, but no, I'm going to have tea with a Gruffalo. A Gruffalo?
Do you like to go to bed?
No.
Why not?
'Cause it's boring.
Boring? Really? Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah, but you have to sleep to charge your battery so tomorrow you can have a lot of energy again.
We don't have batteries.
She's got a point, though, hasn't she, Mum? We don't have batteries. You can't argue with the logic of children. I wish somebody had thought to put some fresh batteries in this torch, though.
Okay, we'll turn the lights down. You go to bed. She doesn't like to sleep by herself, so I'll stay in the chair in her room and I'll wait for her to fall asleep. Baby mine, don't you cry. Baby mine, dry your eyes.
When the lights go low, not everyone goes to sleep like good boys and girls. That's the time when some people decide to get up to no good. People like pirates.
A more villainous-looking brotherhood never hung on any gallows. And the cruelest jewel in that dark setting is Captain Hook himself.
The evilest creatures that roll the earth. The evilest creatures that roll the earth. We are evil upon
Happy? Yeah, happy to take a hand over. We've got the Super Yacht 4 down the Red Sea through the BAM.
Okay then.
And we've had Container Vessel 4.
If you thought the only pirates that existed nowadays were to be found in the pages of bedtime stories like Peter Pan or Treasure Island, you'd be very wrong.
Yep, all the forecasts have gone.
Pirates, and looking at Somali pirates in particular, I would describe as ambush predators.
Here at the Dryad Maritime Centre in Portsmouth, they monitor all too real pirate activity in the Indian Ocean and west coast of Africa, taking place at this very moment.
It's very important for us to understand how the pirates operate, and this that I've just opened for you here is actually a rocket-propelled grenade.
Ooh, don't point that at me, please, Ian.
You'll be pleased to know it's not an activated rocket-propelled grenade, it is inert. There's the warhead end of it, that's the business end that is fired from this particular launcher. This rocket fits into the end of the launcher there.
I'm not so sure that that is inert, Ian, so I'm just going to walk away. Very brightly lit. I have to say it's quite strange being in this place. And you can see the things on people's desks. I see a pink pig. Not a real one, obviously, just a ceramic one. Someone's left their cardigan in there. It's my duty to make sure that cardigan is still here tomorrow morning. For this evening, it's my job to ensure that if somebody does want to take something, I must prevent them from doing that with my life, if necessary. Have a look, I can shine my light into these offices.
We're in a car park, St James's Street car park. It's quite close to the centre of Cheltenham. It's dark, it's quite cold, feeling slightly nervous.
Meet Matthew Dunn, a former MI6 officer. He's teaching me how to be vigilant.
The reason for being here 12 years ago was that I was going to meet a Middle Eastern agent that I've been running for 5 years. And 12 years ago, I conducted an anti-surveillance route to establish if I was being watched by a hostile surveillance team. So right now, I'm looking in each direction of the road, crossing the road, quite naturally looking left and right. And in doing so, I've spotted 3 individuals. On the other side of the road, approximately 50 metres ahead of me, is an individual walking, a male. That type of individual could easily be a surveillance operative. A jogger has just passed me, female, approximately 30 years old. Could easily be a surveillance operative.
Or a jogger. Matthew is recreating, for our benefit, a clandestine meeting that took place in this very location 12 years ago. The stakes were very high.
When you run agents, particularly with agents of such high calibre as he was, you form an extremely close bond with them. They are quite literally putting their lives on the line for you. There's no doubt in my mind that if he'd been caught by his former intelligence colleagues, he would have been taken back to his country and he would have been executed. He was putting his life in my hands.
Everything okay here? Now we're going to go up to level 34. Let's see what we've got up here. Doesn't look like this is in use at the moment. High-tech chairs, phones on desks. But I suppose the biggest feature of this room, most impressive feature of this room, is it's got a pretty amazing view. At the moment, yeah, I mean, I'm looking down and I'm wondering what might be going on. I can see for miles and miles, and to think of all the things that could be happening this evening. Human dramas being played out. I can see the buildings and stuff, but I've no idea of what might be happening in those buildings.
Okay, we'll connect the ventilator now to you. Sound of the ventilator. So now the machine breathes for her.
When it goes all the way to the top, then it means breathing bad.
When it goes all the way to the top, you're breathing in. And when it goes all the way down, you're breathing out. Yeah? In,
What about
out.
here?
Head on the pillow and we go to sleep, okay? Good night, Chiquito. Good night. Urso duerme, urso duerme.
Andrea's mum, Mihaela, is singing a traditional Romanian lullaby, whilst keeping a very close eye on her daughter. Andrea has a very rare medical disorder.
No, when the moment she falls asleep, she stops breathing completely. And now the machine is breathing for her. And this happens every single time she goes to sleep. Her life is depending on that machine. That's for the heart rate. And if she drops below 60, it will alarm. And if it goes over 150, it will alarm again.
Andrea's condition is called congenital central hypoventilation syndrome, in which the afflicted lose autonomic control over breathing, placing them at greatest risk when they're asleep.
Her life is in your hands. So if something goes wrong, if you fall asleep and you don't hear the alarms, or something happens and you're asleep, you don't have a second chance. That's it. It's gone.
In past times, the colloquial term for this condition was Ondine's curse. In German mythology, Sir Lawrence was a very good-looking knight. One day, water nymph Ondine came across him as he was on a quest, and she fell in love with him. As she pledged her love to him, they were married. But as soon as a water nymph pledges herself to a human and bears his child, she will lose eternal life. After Ondine bore Lawrence a son, she began to age. Her changing appearance made Lawrence lose interest in his wife, and he soon started to see other women. One day, Ondine caught her husband with another woman in the stables, and she cursed him in revenge. He was to breathe as long as he was awake, but if he ever fell asleep, he would die, because his breathing would stop. Alex is Andrea's dad.
I mean, for me, basically is a blunt thing, you know, to put it this way, but she's dying every night because she's supported by the machine.
It's 10:30 at night now. I'm the sole watchkeeper here, Ken Johnson.
Back at Dryad Maritime in Portsmouth, Ken has just begun his shift.
I call myself a watchkeeper because of my naval background, and indeed it is a maritime environment here that we work in. So I was in the Navy for 23 years, so much of that role was watchkeeping. So that's what I've always done. And what I'm doing here tonight is monitoring the vessels that we have on the 30,000 square miles of the Indian Ocean. And we're just here to help steer them through the high-risk area.
Now I'm using some saline, and I'll just give a saline nebulizer. And it will go on for about half an hour, and then she'll have to be suctioned, and that's it. She can sleep till tomorrow morning without being disturbed anymore through the night. And that's it. And she's done for the night. We're going to get Shirley, the nurse who looks after her at night, and gives us a break to sleep.
Everything's okay on that floor, so let's move down another floor, shall we? I mean, if I did this job every night, I wonder what that would be like. Night after night, just parading the corridors and just trying not to fall asleep, I suppose. There's not that much stimulation.
We had nurses and they just fell asleep 1 hour after they came to work. Because you have to sleep during the day to be able to stay up at night, so maybe they didn't sleep. So they thought I'll come and maybe have a little nap. They came at 9 and by like 11 they're already sleeping.
When I take over, it's my responsibility from now until 7. This is a child you can't play with. You play with life and death with this child. So she is a very fragile child, very fragile. Listen to her chest, listen to the heart rate, listen to the beat, make sure it's equal on both sides with the stethoscope.
So I'm looking into a room here, and it's a CCTV with 4 images on it of empty spaces. There's something sinister about an empty space, because even though you're surrounded by all these people in the city, it wouldn't help you at all. You know, if somebody was in here, that would be it. It'd be just you and them in this deserted building. And somehow seeing the signs of life outside make that worse.
I'm now moving onto a footpath from Pitville Park. Getting much darker in the park. Lots of large trees, lots and lots of areas that are concealed. Very difficult to spot a team if they were on me.
4:30 in the morning GMT, it is a danger time. It's the best time possible for pirates to attack a ship. The night workers on the ship have been up for many hours. It's not quite bright enough to see things clearly. As you can see there, that is a suspicious approach that took place in the Gulf of Oman that ultimately turned into the boarding of a vessel. It took place, as far as Greenwich Mean Time is concerned, in the early hours of the morning.
There's a busy plot at the moment. Several oil tankers going down through the Red Sea at the moment and off through the Gulf of Aden. We've got a super yacht down in the Maldives. We've got container ships coming up through Sri Lanka into the Indian Ocean, heading
I've got a
east to west.
perfect view of the 5 lifts that serve this floor. Just imagine though if a light came on one and something was coming up towards us. Actually, where have I put my torch? Because that could also double as a nightstick.
There is a stone short bridge ahead of me. The protocol that we had in place prior to the meeting was to move across the bridge from opposite directions, starting at very precise times so that we passed each other in the centre of the bridge. We agreed that if we suspected nobody had followed us, that we were simply to say good evening to each other and continue walking. If one or more of us suspected that we had been followed, we were to be silent and keep walking past each other. On that night, that protocol drill worked perfectly. We passed each other and we both gave the greeting, good evening. We continued walking in opposite directions. Our objective was to meet at the other side of the lake and then to walk through the park and talk.
We're in the small hours now. Feels very lonely to be in this room with just the faint sound of the air conditioning. There's no one else here. I mean, I brought a book with me, but I don't feel like I should read. I feel like I've got to be vigilant. I think I should go and have another walk in a bit.
You need to be vigilant with her all night. Okay. Let's just make sure this is connected properly. Things can come out, she can turn around, she turns quickly, like a normal child, you know. So you have to be on your toes with her. You can't even leave to go to the toilet too long, because the minute she misses you and she finds somebody, she gets scared because she's so used to somebody with her all the time. Let me set. It's lower so that if the alarm goes off, you know that 60 seconds give you. That's fine.
One spaghetti bolognese, and I won't have to eat now until sometime later this afternoon. It's a long way off.
Fancy a cuppa? We're in the kind of communal area, and this is a table tennis table. This is one of the privileges of being a night watchman. Oh, ace. This is reminding me a little bit now of maybe the Stanley Kubrick film The Shining. Maybe if you were left in a place like this for too long, to your own devices, you would start doing things like pretending that you were playing table tennis with someone who wasn't there.
I flick through the radio stations throughout the night and try and pick up some decent mellow music for a bit of company. It's just like having a virtual friend in the office when you got a bit of music there. Christmas Eve, you're the only person hearing anything, everybody else around the world's having fun, then that's a bit of a lonely place to be.
Whatever happened to Christmas?
But that comes with the job of being a watchkeeper.
It's gone and left no traces.
They're not just a ship's name on the screen.
Whatever happened to the faces?
We do appreciate there's mariners on there, there's guys on there with families. They deserve to be looked after. And it's easy to forget about people out in the Indian Ocean. Nobody knows they're there. We do, and we look after them.
She asked me, and do you have wings? And you're my guardian angel, and where does my guardian angel fly around my bed all night? I said, no, I watch you all night, but you have your guardian angels around you. Where are they then? Where are they? Can I see them? I said, you can't see them, but they're around you. So you feel like that because you are there for her protection. When mom and dad can have a good night rest, you are there so that they can have a sound sleep. Otherwise, they can't sleep.
But often, as you can imagine, sleep doesn't come easily.
Usually I sleep about 3-4 hours a night. I just fall asleep somewhere in the house, you know. Sometimes on the floor, just on the laptop. Sometimes on the sofa. So
I do lie awake at night, just wondering what her life will be when we're not here to look after her. And we always wanted to have a second child, so when we're not here, they can look after each other. And I'm hoping he'll become a doctor or nurse or something in the medical field, and maybe help his sister later with some miracle cure.
You feel the weight on your shoulder because, you know, it's like her life depends on my care for her. Anything goes wrong, she's just gonna drop like a leaf. That's it, suddenly. So
as I turn this corner, on that night, the agent was coming directly towards me. We met, shook hands. I was very aware that if I had missed a team and the team were on the ground, it would be very easy for them to close in on me. The threat felt very real at that moment. The agent, after a few pleasantries, started talking about his recent trip to the Middle East. We talked very specific details about who he'd spoken to, what he'd seen, what he'd heard. And running through my mind that night was that the information he was giving me, which related to a major terrorist threat to the West, would have been grade A intelligence, meaning the most highly graded intelligence which would have gone onto the desk of possibly the Prime Minister himself. I asked him a few remainder questions, shook hands. At this stage, as it is now, the park was completely empty. I was completely alone. I watched his back as he moved further into darkness and then moved until he was out of my sight.
The city seems peaceful. I mean, you look at some of the taller buildings, they've got those kind of red lights on top, which I suppose is to stop aeroplanes from crashing into them. And occasionally there are little flashing lights again, which I suppose are warning lights. But that's, apart from the car headlights, the occasional car headlights that you see on the roads, that's it, that's the only movement. It seems very immobile, very monumental, everything just stood there. Sleeping, I guess, waiting to be kind of activated again tomorrow morning.
It's nice at this time of night, you're thinking ahead to when your relief comes in. And it's nice to get to this stage and think, all those ships out there have got through the night safely. They're going on their way.
It's a strange kind of job. Basically, what you want to happen in this job is for it to be as boring as possible.
And I do go home thinking nothing untoward has happened to those ships, or the men on those ships. Not on my watch.
Well, I'm going to tidy our cups away now because it's getting near the time when my night watch ends. We seem to have got through without any undue incident, which I'm happy for. Thank you. I thank you for your company. Thank you very much for keeping me company on this, what would have been a very, very lonely vigil this evening. So I hope that you've enjoyed it. It's been an experience, hasn't it? Thank you. And please join us on Wireless Nights again sometime soon. Bye-bye. Yes, I'll keep an eye out for you. Good night.
To us, that sound is peaceful. It's a peaceful sound. Then you know that everything is fine. She's asleep and she's all right. Reassuring. It's a good sound.
Someone who watch over me. I'm a little lamb who's lost in the woods. I know that I could always be good to one who'll watch over me.
You can download many more BBC Radio 4 programmes for free. Find these at bbc.co.uk/Radio4.